Here's a hypothetical situation. You've just been hired as a software engineer for a new company. The stakeholders for this company are asking you to keep them fully aware and up to date on all progress of the assets that you and your teammates will be working on. Now, how are you going to do this without spending half of your time creating, testing, and analyzing, and then distributing builds? How are you going to do it? Any idea? Well, some of you may have just been asking, does it really take that long to create, test, and analyze and distribute builds? Yes, it absolutely does. Trust me, I have been there, and you don't want to get yourself into this situation. There is a better way. Today, I would like to talk to you about the concept of continuous integration and how it can help you and your development team become more efficient. So, first of all, we will take a look at the more traditional way of delivering builds versus that of continuous integration. We will then talk about how you get a continuous integration environment up and running and what pieces are necessary and required to make that happen. Then we will also take a look at Apple's very own contribution to continuous integration in the iOS development environment. So we've got a lot to talk about and take a look at, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so let's take a look at the more traditional way of distributing builds, which is that of there are developers committing into a repository, then maybe every once in a while for, say, a milestone, a build is created and released to stakeholders and team members, and then over time again, there are commits going into a repository, and you hit another milestone, and a build is released. So what you get is a graph that goes up and down like you see on the screen now, whereas the stakeholders' perception of the progress on that artifact, it goes up and down. Well, with continuous integration, it looks something more like this, where over time it just continuously rises because they are actually getting artifacts for every commit that goes into the repository. So for every code update, they get a new artifact that they can look at and test, which obviously makes for very happy stakeholders because they're continuously getting new builds with new functionality. So the adoption rate. How quickly is continuous integration being adopted? Well, it was originally introduced in extreme programming and ever since has just skyrocketed. There are many companies using it today, even companies like Apple and Google. So what does it take to get up and running with continuous integration? Well, it's not that difficult, and there's actually lots of tools out there that will help you do this. Jenkins and TeamCity and Travis CI are just a few that I recommend you check out. But let's take a look at what Apple has done to provide a continuous integration environment for their own iOS development environment, which they are calling Xcode Bots. So Xcode Bots, as it says, will automatically build, analyze, and test your apps for you. So what does it take to get up and running with Xcode Bots? Well, you need a server machine to run your Xcode service. You need an iOS developer account, OS X Mavericks and OS X Server, Xcode 5.0 and greater, and a GitHub account. Once you have all that up and running, you simply open your server app and turn on the Xcode service. You can then create an Xcode bot, and you are up and running. So what does the entire continuous integration process look like? Well, if you have a developer working on a project, he creates a commit and pushes it up to a remote repository. In this case, we'll use GitHub. At that point, your continuous integration environment will see that new commit and pull it in, build, analyze, test, and distribute that build to wherever you would like to distribute your builds to. So in this case, we'll use TestFlight. TestFlight receives that artifact. It then notifies your stakeholders and team members of the new asset, and they can install it immediately on their device. So let's recap everything that we've discussed. First of all, we talked about why CI is necessary for helping you with automating your common tasks. We then talked about how you can get your own CI environment set up and some of the more common servers that are available and out there to help you with this process, including Apple's very own Xcode Bots. Last, we talked about how the entire CI process works. So, in summary, Adding a continuous integration environment to your workflow is absolutely vital in helping you and your team become more efficient. So, if you are a developer and you do not have a continuous integration environment set up and helping you become more efficient, you are doing it wrong. Get yourself a CI environment, set it up, let it help you become more efficient in automating your common tasks. You can thank me later.